Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of Bordertown Strange. I'm Pam, and this is my co-host, Jess, and our special guests tonight are a couple of our besties, Mark Bannon and Enzo Cyrille. Woohoo!
Thanks for having me on.
I don't know if they're special guests anymore.
I know, they're just kind of co-hosts at this point.
Well, they're just, yeah.
Everybody calls me special. I don't know who it is.
Aww. So tonight we're going to be discussing UFOs and the owl phenomena. And we just lost Enzo. Whoops.
Now my joke was that bad.
Oh man, he just bailed, didn't he?
He just bailed.
It's because we said he wasn't special anymore.
Oh, maybe that was
Enzo.
He'll be back.
I hurt his feelings.
He'll be back. So tonight, the topic is UFOs and the owl phenomena, and it's something that we haven't really touched on in our show yet. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take you along on the ride of this very fascinating subject. We're going to be discussing UFO sightings, alien abductions, strange synchronicities, and the fact that there has been a connection established between them and owls. But what purpose does the owl play in all of this? But one thing that we can say after hearing the stories tonight, you may never look at owls the same way again. Now, before we dive in, Jess, do you want to do a little housekeeping and we'll talk about our what the weird word?
Yeah, I just got the huge. So thanks to all of our new subscribers and followers. If you're new or old here, take just a second and like and share or subscribe and hit that thumbs up. It helps us get more content out to you, and the more people we have, the more that we can grow and the more fun stuff that we can share and do. Also, you can listen in wherever you get your podcast. If you can't catch us live, although you should, because the book games is the best. I'm just saying that I really don't agree. I think my notebooks are boring, but yay.
No, they're great.
We love them. I can't get enough.
Yeah, they're the best.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, and I'm gonna put this out here. My internet has been very glitchy, and if you listen to the last one, I apologize. It sounds terrible, and it's kind of messing up again today, but we're gonna try to hold on as long as I can, and if I have to drop out, then I'll drop out. I'll just sit back and like wave and look owl-like. Maybe I should have brought an owl outfit and just been the owl in the corner.
Yeah, you can
get one of those plastic ones that they sell at Lowe's to keep the pigeons away.
Oh yeah, that does not work because I've seen them setting on the owls.
Enzo said that he blue screened, but he's on his way back. So.
Oh, okay.
Well,
everybody's
joke was so bad that it blue screened Enzo.
I know. I crashed his computer.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Stacy. All right. Well, do we want the word of the week?
Yes. So let me get it pulled up here really quick. I say really quick every time, don't I?
She is super fast.
Zoom.
All right. So this was my week, and I decided to do screen memories. And you're going to see why here in just a second. This is everything to do with the owl phenomenon that we're going to be talking about tonight. And we're going to be saying screen memories often. So I thought you all should know what that means.
It's a good one.
Screen memories, are false memories or incidents seemingly planted into the experiencer's consciousness to subdue, pacify, or cause delusion. Often found in UFO abductee cases. Hypnosis or a trigger item may approach the real experience hidden underneath a false implanted one. So this is actually like a reused term. So a Freudian term, which basically was kind of attributed to children going through bad experiences when they were younger. A screen memory would be produced by their own brain to kind of cover up something very not nice that happened to them when they were younger. And it could often be brought out by hypnosis later on. They would do regression with them. What was the pop sound?
Oh, it's Enzo. He booped back in. She was like, what was that pop sound? Yes. We blamed it on Mark's bad joke.
Yeah, I said, what happened? Was my joke so bad he left?
It's Jess's
what?
internet has swarmed onto my computer somehow.
Oh no, the virus is spreading.
It's that new
Say
OBS
that.
download.
The virus is spreading.
I don't know.
You haven't missed much.
That's
We just
probably
talked.
what it was.
Jess was talking about the weird word. So
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. Green memories. That's it.
yep.
Yes. So originally a Freudian word. It later on, and I believe, and don't quote me on this, I believe it was Bud Hopkins, perhaps, that kind of recoined it for the
I think you're
use
right.
in abduction cases. People were finding when they went and did regressive hypnosis sessions that they were complete memories they thought were the real memory. And once they picked up that original real memory again, the entire scenarios would come flooding back. So he's kind of reused this. It is the same thing basically, but only in these type of screen memories. A lot of researchers think that the new memory was put there on purpose, was put there by perhaps the aliens or whoever was in charge of the situation that they were going through. So screen memories have become almost like an implant, kind of like the Men in Black guys on the movie, blanking out your memories with the little stick.
The flashy thing.
Only they've given you a whole new memory. So you're going to hear that a lot tonight. So screen memories it is today.
Yes. Awesome.
Well, I mean, if something happens naturally, doesn't that make it easier to reproduce artificially? I mean,
yeah,
maybe.
Surely some of our psychologists have figured out how to do it on purpose.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the CIA has a whole book on it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the hypnotists.
hypnotists.
Look at the hypnotists that plant the suggestions, where they can just, snap their fingers or whatever, and you're clucking like a chicken. Yep. And when we're talking about screen memories, it brings to mind a story that I read, and you're going to hear us talk a lot about author Mike Clelland tonight. He wrote the book The Messengers, and Jess has a copy of it there, and she's got stories from the Messengers. Excellent books. Yep. Oh, and you've got his other one too, Hidden Experiences. Oh, ooh.
You should hit
I haven't read that
Amazon
one
or
yet.
his website and buy those.
Yes, MikeClelland.com is his website.
Yeah. And if you go, his web page and blog is called The Hidden Experience, and he really keeps a day-to-day blog on there. When he gets new stories in, they get posted, and you can leave your own story. He requests that you do that. If you have your own owl story, even a little small one, get up there and send it to him. He just collects them. He is like doing the statistics and stuff on them now. It's just really interesting. Hi, Sylvain.
Hi, Sylvain. And Cord jumped on too. So hi, Cord.
Oh, hi, Cord.
Talking about screen memories, one of the things that you'll find out a lot. I know what it was. I was going to bring up one of the stories from Mike Clelland that someone had given him on screen memories. It's a lady, and she was at a camp with a bunch of kids, and she walks away, and she's walking down the path away from the kids. And as she comes around the corner, she is shocked because she sees a small gray alien standing just off the path to her left. And she's so shocked, she doesn't know what to do. So she just keeps walking past it. And she, the alien's looking the other way, and then it turns around and sees her and has like this, oh shit, look on his face, And immediately she gets this message in her head that says, owl, 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 owl. And all of a sudden he morphs into an owl, and then he goes crashing through the brush away. And she was like, I know that was an alien. I know what that was. That was a gray.
Yeah.
And he just made me think he was an owl. And so I really liked that story because it really shows that they are able, however, to send that message and trick your brain into thinking there's something else.
It reminds me of a really bad joke that I cannot repeat on the internet.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, that
Well.
that story that Pam just told is the one that got I can't speak for Enzo, but it got me and Pam and Mark like our first step into the foray of owls and aliens having anything to do with each other. I think actually it was Phil who was the one that brought us the story the first time. We were on a different podcast chatting about stuff, and he just brought up this, I heard this weird story. And
think
we were
you're
just
right.
like, wow, how does that even, I'd not even heard of like an owl alien connection at that time. It was like my first introduction to it. So it's crazy stuff. And we're going to
Yeah, it's
have
pretty
lots
weird
of stories
stuff.
for you tonight.
Mhm.
I always feel like there's always a crossover between older cultures where they have specific, tales, both good and bad, about owls.
Oh yeah,
But,
I mean, I've got lots of stuff pulled up on stuff like that. So
yeah, I figured you guys would. So.
And it depends,
Mhm.
honestly, it depends on your background. Like Native Americans, a lot of, not all of them, but a lot of the different tribes have the bad feeling about, it's not good if you see an owl. But if you go over into Western Europe, like in Ireland, Scotland, that's where, it's Athena's symbol, basically. So it's known to be the wise one, or knowledge and all-knowing kind of thing. So yeah, it really depends on where you come from.
Interestingly enough, you say that. However, in Mike Cullen's research, he says he's met hundreds and hundreds of shamans, Native American shamans,
Mhm.
and he has never met one that hasn't had full owl experiences on the good side. They're like the totem animal for shamans.
That's so
But
cool.
meanwhile, their tribes think that they're ill-omened. So I don't even understand how that works. They like the shamans revere them, but their
Mhm.
tribes are scared of them. I'm unsure how that works.
well,
Huh.
because the
Yeah, that is
shamans
wild.
have power, and so or are perceived to have power.
Mhm.
They're
I
the
don't know. I
ones
think it's crazy.
that are uh, supposed to deal with the owls.
That's true, because owls are seen as messengers between, our realm and the dark realm, or, the other side kind of thing. And a lot of that comes, I like the symbolism
Yeah.
there, because, you've got owls that can see very well at night.
They can fly,
Um,
hunt, whatever.
yes. Yep.
And
So it's pretty cool.
if you're a small animal, owls are terrifying. You can't see them coming, and all of a sudden you're snatched up and
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, they're terrifying as a human too if they swoop down on you. I've had that happen before. It's just,
I've had one go
'cause
through a
they're-
windshield, so that's kind of terrifying.
yeah,
I bet.
because
Yeah.
the way that the feathers are on their wings is they're almost totally silent.
Mhm.
You won't hear like a flapping sound going, "Hey, what's that?" and then get attacked. It'll just happen. They're on you before you even know it.
Owls are cool. They really are.
They really are.
They're spooky cool for the most part.
They're funny
Um,
looking,
They are.
really.
They are spooky cool.
Well, it's all in the
Um,
eyes is really
it
what it
is.
is because owls, unlike like us as humans, we and a lot of other mammals, we've got little like spheres for eyes that look in all directions and stuff like that. Owls, their eyes are elongated. It goes almost to the back of their skull. That's why they have such super binocular style vision.
And it
And of
kind of,
course, to make up nature wise, that's why their head can spin almost all the way around and do all these weird angles to
yeah,
make
they
up
do
for
the whole
not being able to
thing.
move their individual
You did really well
eyes.
with
So,
Yeah.
I did good at that, didn't I?
You did. You did.
Did very well.
Very natural.
In case you're just listening, I'm swiveling my head like an idiot. But before we get
Now
really deep
I'm
into
just gonna put this out. Oh, I was just gonna put we're all tormented by the owl from The Secret of Nim, because that's my
Oh.
first experience being scared to death of an owl. Right?
Oh,
Almost
John
as scary
Roy,
as the
yep.
needles going into the rats halfway through, but
Ugh.
hey, John.
Yep, R.I.P. David
Yeah.
Lynch. That was a huge loss, man. He said, John said owls were big in Twin Peaks. Yes, they were. Before we get too deep, I want to pull up some pictures. In 2017, my dad and my stepmom, they live over in Missouri, and not even 10 feet from their patio door, they have this really tall, skinny tree with a huge knot hole in it. And that year, a barred owl nested in that, and she hatched 3 little baby owls, and they were super cute. But I got a hold of my stepmom, and I was like, you got to share some pictures. So let me find those really quick here.
She lost them. They got away. They flew
No,
away.
there they are. Here's the first one, and I have the original here too. I just love that picture. They would just sit there and stare in the window all the time. And here's one of the babies when it came out. It was learning how to fly, sitting on the ground. And then this one is, I don't know which baby this one is, but it was a juvenile. But they're so cute.
They are.
That little one, look at those eyes. It's
Yeah,
like,
they
the
look like
eyes,
they're looking right through you, don't they?
yes, they do.
I've seen that before. Part of my dealings, the latter part of my career in the military, I dealt with a lot of wildlife control and had an instance to go up to a wildlife rehabilitation center doing a drop off. But they had various birds and stuff like that they were trying to rehabilitate. Some of which, like, had an eagle that had one of its wings amputated, so it was going to be there forever. And they had a barred owl, just like this one, that had apparently gotten into some kind of chemicals or something like that, where it had gone blind. So the irises in its eyes were just locked wide open.
Oh,
so,
wow.
and of course, they even hunt by hearing. That's why owls have like that big conical facial disc, it's called, around their eyes, where it's like a funnel or onto their ears, because their ears are like right behind their eyes. So they're listening as they're swooping over a little field for scurrying mice and things like that. That's how they hunt. But it heard us come in, and of course it swings its head around, and it's just these big black orbs for eyes. And you're like, ah.
That's funny. You know, in Wichita at the Tall Grass, good grief, can't talk. Tall Grass Prairie place. I can't think of what it's called, but this was quite a few years ago. They had a little owl that had gotten injured and couldn't be let back into the wild anymore, but it was albino, and it was beautiful. I'd never seen a full albino, and it had the pink eyes and everything. It was cool.
That.
Yeah. Wow. It was tiny. It was only like this big too.
Oh,
little bitty dude. But I thought it would be fun. I pulled up the Audubon website, and they have some owl hoots on there. And I did the barred owl since that's who we had pictures of. And honestly, I know they're not all white owls that are in connection with UFOs, but a lot of them are. So here, I'll pull this back. We were playing with it earlier to make sure it would play, but I love this.
Very excited there.
And you know, where's my notes at? Because I thought this was cool. I didn't realize this. I know it kind of sounds like they're talking, but they usually say that hoot is who cooks for you, who cooks for you all. So I don't know. Let's see if we can hear it again. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah,
okay.
Audio pareidolia there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It almost sounded like no soup for you.
No food for you.
No soup for you.
Oh, no soup for you. That's awesome.
Soup Nazi owl. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's
not nearly as cool as my Jeopardy owl. I think I told you guys about it like a couple
it was backstage. You got to share that story. It's hilarious.
Okay. So, gosh, it's been like 20 some years ago. And my husband and I, in our first house, we lived on the block right in front of our local football stadium, which is an old stadium, and it houses owls like crazy. There's so many owls in it. And there was a owl one summer that would fly out of the stadium, and it would sit in the tree right outside of our bedroom window, and every flippin' night it would hoot, only it didn't have a normal like a hoot hoot sound. It sounded like the Jeopardy jingle when the categories are changing. It would go hoo 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 over and over and over. And we called it the Jeopardy owl. And my husband would so mad in the evenings, he'd scream things at it like, I'll take quiet and sleep for 500 hours.
Actually, I
Funny.
watched.
Only that one summer, thank goodness. Like, what,
I
Mark?
was gonna say I watched a video today actually of a couple owls communicating to one another, and it kind of sounded
Mhm.
like that. Although to me, it sounded like a couple computers over an audio modem.
Oh yeah.
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 It was really
It was just,
That's
yeah,
wild.
it's weird. And it sounded like it was recorded. Like it was so crisp and exactly the same every time. It sounded like button over and over again. So frustrating. And it was especially frustrating for him because he worked a super early shift. So he had to be on at like such and such
Oh
morning.
man.
And he would just be laying there bleary eyed. I don't know how many times like he tried to go outside, scare it out of the tree, suck
Come right back.
He's
That's funny.
lucky he didn't get pooped on.
Maybe it wasn't an owl.
Maybe not.
Ooh.
I don't know. I hope I didn't get abducted.
Oh my gosh.
That is true. They do not scare easily, though. If there's one out
No,
there
they're-
making a racket,
don't.
they do not care what
Nerves of
you
steel.
lowly humans have to say.
Yeah, they look at you like, "Pfft."
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I want to
Whatever,
see you
dude.
climb this tree and get me, boy.
That's right.
One thing I didn't know, there's a lot of owls that swoop down across the road, when you're driving and stuff like that. And I didn't know the reason for that. But there's a YouTube channel, and I'll have it in the show notes. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But they're talking about, it's a rehabilitation place. And they have an owl that was hit by a car and had to have part of its wing amputated. And I think his name was Sherlock or something like that. But the reason that they do that is because frogs are one of their main food sources, and they like to swoop them up because they can just eat those whole. And they hang around asphalt roads because after dark, that asphalt's still warm, and the frogs will go on the asphalt to warm up. So the owls
yeah.
really stick around that area to look
Makes
for food,
sense.
basically.
No, like I
And
said,
they
I
get so
hit one.
zeroed in on, focused on that frog that they
Food.
don't pay attention to the big car.
It
Yeah.
took my windshield out and put a big dent in the top of my car.
Oh man.
Wow.
No, I was in high school, so
Yeah.
that was a
Dang.
long time ago.
What kind of owl it was?
Was it Fred
The
Flintstone?
dead kind that splattered all over. I mean, there was blood
Oh.
all over the back of my car.
Oh no. That's terrible.
There was
Oh,
just
it was most
feathers
likely a
everywhere.
barn owl. Those are the most common in here in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. It came partway through the windshield, smashed in the
no.
top where the windshield meets the top of the car, and then there was just this big red smear across the top.
Oh man.
Oh.
That's terrible.
Oh.
Some
They
of
did a
those
lot of
bigger
damage.
owls.
Poor owl.
They do. We
It was
we
quick.
had
I was going
we had
80.
we had a long-eared owl that hit one of our planes here right before I retired. That
No.
it was like it hit up on one of the horizontal steps. That's the flat part of the tail.
Mhm.
It hit right on the leading edge, and it looked all the work. If you didn't know what caused it, you'd have thought somebody went up there in a stand and just whacked it with a hammer. It was a
Dang.
chunk, big old dent in it,
Oh.
and the thing was giant. Which I had in the office because we're required to like send in samples to the Smithsonian. Oddly enough, they have a bird identification lab that the Air Force uses where they track all the different birds that are struck across the U.S. and that's how they monitor migration patterns and stuff like that. But
Oh, huh.
it was a big event when I had that monstrosity sitting on my desk trying to pick feathers out of it. and all that.
no.
Everybody was stopped. My desk was like right in front of the door to the hallway, so everybody walking down the hallway was like, "What is that?"
Oh, goodness. That is crazy.
Ew.
Goodness
You were like, come poke my dead owl.
And everybody did. Everybody thought it was
Ew.
because down the hallway from where I was, like the main finance thing for the military. So if anybody had a problem with their paycheck, they were running straight to there, and they'd always walk past my door. And when I had his son, he was like, "Wait a minute, come here." It's like, "Did my son look at it?" I was like, "Sure." And I like unfolded one of the wings for him and all that stuff. He's like, "Wow,
Wow.
and of course, their claw, their feet, their talons, and all that stuff. It's like a young child's hand, really, and just but with the thickness of an adult's fingers, and it's just it's just gonna crunch right through anything it grabs hold
Oh
of.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, if they get something big, they will actually use it as a fork and a knife, the other talon, and just pull it into pieces and eat it. It's crazy. Those things they're wicked. Their talons are crazy wicked.
They are a predator, and that's part that's part of what freaked out our ancestors, is because they are such a fearsome predator. And they operate at night when humans don't.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of psychology going on with the imagery of the owls and stuff.
That was a great segue, Mark.
Oh, well, I wasn't even trying. I mean,
you pulled us right back out of the weeds there, because we were off in them a little bit.
Well, I spend a lot of time in the weeds.
Yeah.
Weeds are the best.
Weeds are the best.
Especially when they're Enzo stories. That was a good one.
That was a good one. So we're going to be telling a lot of stories tonight and stuff, but I want to touch base really quick. I want to go over all the aspects of the phenomena so we can kind of touch on all the, see how it all falls together. So the owl phenomenon isn't just you see an owl. So it comes along with crazy, with the Oz effect. Sometime you're going to see that pop up. Missing time is a big factor. They'll see the owl after they have their missing time. People have reported shifts in kind of their spirituality and awareness after this happens. UFO sightings, experiences also. Or, sometimes they'll get it back later. You've got that screen memory happening. And oddly enough, and I added this in here because I thought it was really interesting, Mike Cleland and his research had found that the ones who had owl experiences had Chris in their name somewhere.
They repeat that. Okay, so
their middle name would be like Christopher.
Yeah. You kind of cut out on that.
Again?
Yeah, you did. Man. So, but I can help you with that part. So a lot of in his research, what he found out is a lot of people ended up having the name Chris or Christopher, or Christina, some kind of Chris in their name. Which was really interesting. And he didn't know if it had like a religious aspect to it because of, Chris meaning Christ or Christian. But he threw it out there as a, who knows?
It's
something to consider. Yeah, it's something to keep in the back of your mind anyway.
Well, with all the religious and cultural significance that owls have had across the world, that's kind of interesting.
It is. Yeah, for sure.
So,
but
yeah,
like I said, owls are just kind of freaky anyway.
So we've got screen memories going on, and of course owls are sometimes considered a harbinger or an omen type of a situation, and they also consider it maybe they're a shapeshifter alien, so it's not even a real owl at all, it's an alien posing as one, which absolutely makes sense because they kind of have the same look as like,
right,
it would be an easy thing for them
to kind of pretend or take on like the owl suit to
well, yeah.
I like there's a story about a lady that she's retelling, she saw this owl by the side of the road, And it struck her later on that this thing was huge. It was like at least 4 foot tall. And they were like, oh, that's interesting. Was there anything else strange about it? And she was thinking, and she was like, yeah, he was wearing a pair of boots. And they're like, are you sure that was an owl? Okay, that couldn't have been an owl if it was wearing boots, huh? So, whatever it was, it projected an owl onto her mind.
I think that was in Mike's book.
Yes, it is. It is one of the stories out of his book.
Do you see that image I shared down there in the corner?
Uh-huh.
Baby owls kind of look like aliens.
They do.
They do.
They got those long legs.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the videos of one running? It picks up its but it's like it's picking up a dress and running.
They're so freaking cute when they run.
They are. They're hilarious.
Right up until the time they rip your throat out with those giant.
Yeah.
I'll be real honest, Mark. I wasn't paying attention to what that was down there. And when it's small, it does. I just thought it was aliens. I wasn't really noticing what it was.
You just gotta squint your eyes just a little bit and you would think that's a gray picture.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
They're weird looking.
They are.
Well, even owls are they're big bird, but a lot of that's just feathers. Underneath, they're kind of a long, skinny, kind of freaky looking critter.
I'll see if I can find. Yeah. While you guys talk, I'll see if I can find that.
Yeah.
So they're not normal.
Yeah, and like you say, they are most birds, especially larger ones like that, look very different when they don't have feathers on them. It's you can think about.
Oh my lord, they look hilarious.
They do. Oh, yeah. They're so funny.
Their legs are
apparently
legs
they laugh at us when we're naked too. So it's.
I mean, I laugh at me when I'm naked.
Why are you letting owls watch you naked there, Enzo?
It's I'm a part of the
Weirdo.
Only Owls network.
Only Owls. OOs.
Oh, he's got a weird owl kink.
Oh no.
Oh,
no. That's funny.
Ooh. But
I almost.
Oh my lord, we've got to get out of this.
Yeah.
It's getting rough.
We're so in the weeds this time.
You want to stall for time? We're gonna stall for time.
That's right. Funny. That's right. So we've got to bring up the commercial. How many licks does it take to get to the center?
Of course. 1, 2, 3. Crunch. 3. That's funny.
So if you're abducted, if you think you might be an abductee, you just carry a pocket full of those Tootsie Rolls.
Just hand them out. Yeah. There you go.
Right.
You're distracted. You just throw them on the ground and run away.
Candy, run! That's not a bad tactic whenever you're getting abducted by whatever.
Not really. No.
Throw down candy and run.
Throw candy and run. Yeah. I mean, it works for some people.
It does, yeah.
I wouldn't chase you. Oh, fuck candy. Pardon me.
All right.
Oh, my goodness.
Man, I need to do this more often. I don't even have to catch anybody.
Oh, my gosh. I need to stop the madness. This has gone really into the weeds.
You do.
Okay, so while Pam's doing that, so let's talk about the insane synchronicities. So Mike Clellan recognized this when he started researching the owl phenomenon. It just snowballed on him. And we've talked about this before, synchronicities with anything. Mm-hmm. We've talked about, when we get too deep in the weeds, start bombarding you. And I decided, because the synchronicities he was talking about was just insane. And he was talking about people would call in and tell him, I started having synchronicities. Or I read your book and all of a sudden I was having synchronicities. So I did a little experiment for the last couple and I started keeping a little journal of every time something owl would pop up. From the time I started rereading his books, because I'd already read them, I started rereading them up till today. And it's quite a lot, actually.
Oh my.
Of all the weird synchronicities that were happening with owl stuff. And
that's a lot.
That is a lot.
And I gave myself some like parameters. I didn't want to just, say whatever fell. So I gave myself parameters. So I purposely didn't speak out loud about our project tonight. I didn't talk about owls out loud or say anything about the topic because I didn't want to get picked or have any of that happen. And up until the 28th, I did not look anything up on the internet. I just researched out of my own books so that no algorithms would start popping in.
Did you say algorithms?
Still,
she did.
Yes, algorithms.
Hey, Bree.
So I'm just going to kind of list kind of the stuff that happened here. So I started the evening of the 20th, which happens to be right after we got done with our last podcast on the Friend that we did with Mark. That night, a huge sale for owlware. The next night, I actually had a dream about an owl that was in a field running. It was really weird. I'm saying that's synchronistic because I was reading about all night beforehand, so that may very well have just been my mind. Right. I'm not saying any of this is spectacular. At 10:31 a.m. that day, I was at a store. I found a giant bag of owl magnets. Somebody did like an entire bag's worth of owl magnets.
Okay, hang on. You cut out a little bit there.
Okay.
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit. So go back to at the store.
The owl magnets. Yeah, I was at the store. Found a giant bag of owl magnets someone had collected. It was a huge, right? So going through all of this, I'm starting to get more and more every day. Stuff's popping up on YouTube, videos. I'm passing through the TV and finding owls everywhere. At one point, my husband just came running through the room and he was screaming, "I'm a night owl. I'm a night owl." I still don't know why he was saying that.
What?
Right?
That's crazy.
And it started picking up and getting bigger and bigger. I'm not going to list them all, but the one really weird synchronicity that happened wasn't even anything happening at all. So there was one day where I didn't research. I took a break on Sunday to do some other stuff, and my kid's getting ready to make a move to Denver, so I was kind of helping her pack, and I didn't even touch that stuff that day. And I saw no owl stuff. Nothing popped up anywhere.
So no synchronicities at all?
On the one day that I didn't participate with the owl stuff. And then, of course, it back up again. Now, interestingly enough, on Saturday, before that Sunday there, my husband and I were traveling down to Bertlesville to pick up some stuff. And at 12, I turned to look at the side of the road, and there was a big freaking owl sitting in the tree in the middle of the day, just staring me down as I went past. And I was like,
wild.
Oh,
the aliens are watching you, Jess.
They are.
You're onto something. We must.
Yeah. So I just thought, I was like, I'm going to test this a little bit and just see if I can't get anything reasonable out of it. Now, I'm not saying that this is synchronicity, because I may very well have been paying more attention because I was reading about owls. So I tended to pick that up more. They're a popular bird.
They are.
But maybe it was synchronistic because the one day I didn't study on them, I didn't get anything. So I don't know. Interesting.
No, I mean, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I found a little running owl. It's not the one I was looking for, but it shows their little long legs, and it's super, super cute. I just pulled it off of Reddit. So hang on. Back up there. You ready? Here he comes. Boink, boink, boink.
It's like watching a person run.
Isn't he cute?
He is
Who are
cute.
you? Yeah.
Who are you?
It's like, did you bring me anything from the store? I mean,
You have lollipops?
Right?
he's more interested in a nice fresh mouse.
Got mouse.
Look at
mouse
look at the talons on the feet.
Oh,
yeah, and that's a very small owl too. So
that would tear you up.
oh yeah, it would, big time. Can you imagine what that'd do to a mouse or a frog?
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting? Another little fun fact about owls too. When they eat something, especially if it's small, they can just swallow it whole. And the way that they get rid of it is they turn it into a pellet basically after a few hours and digest it, and then they vomit it back up.
Get all the bones out.
Yeah, I remember when we were in Cub Scout, I think it was Cub Scouts, where we had the kids, we got the pellets for them to open up to dissect to see what was inside of them, and you could find little mouse bones and fur and stuff, or frog bones, depending on what they ate. Yeah, it was kind of cool, but kind of gross, but kind of cool.
Yeah, they're a little different. Owls.
Yeah, and they do, and that's part of the mystique, though, is they're not like most other critters. Most critters don't throw up bones.
Yeah, most of them get rid of it the old-fashioned way.
So
here's another picture that cracks me up. While you guys are talking, I'll pull this up. It's not a video; it's just a picture of one. You got to see this; it's hilarious. Look at those legs.
They are.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're weird-looking critters. And I could see where, if one had its legs extended like that, it would look kind of like a person.
Could you imagine if one was running down the side of the road?
Right, especially a 4-foot one.
Yeah. And, that's something else when it comes to maybe something being planted in your mind, a thing like that, is because there are really not any 4-foot owls,
No. I was even going to mention in that picture that you could see the person's hands that were, lifting up the feathers, that you can see how big it is. It's still, a couple feet, bordering on 3 feet, and they don't get that much bigger than that, but still, you see one flying through the air. It's like this garbage can flying through the air suddenly that's coming at you, but they certainly don't get.
Yeah, it's the wingspan that.
Yeah, they have those really broad wings, which they use for that's low altitude soaring kind of stuff. Like a hawk has much broader, not as broad because they're doing it a little higher. And of course, a falcon, it's very thin because they're all agility and speed. So for an owl, it's got those big wings and giant feathers that come off of the end of the wing for when they're flapping. It's silent, like I was talking about before. The way that they're shaped, the way the design is, you don't hear that giant wing flapping as it's swooping in on you.
They've got built-in vortex generators, and they've got lots of lift. They can lift things that are heavier than they are.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. Well, let's talk about the giant owl stories.
Mm-hmm. Let's do, because there's some good ones.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them.
I'm just going to kind of go over Dolores Cannon. She's an author and a hypnotist, actually. If you are interested in this topic, get her book, The Custodians. She talks about this topic a lot. It's a really book. Her own experience right after she was coming from a meeting with other UFO abductions and experiences, and she was actually considering whether or not she even wanted to go that route at the on that kind of phenomenon. And she was on her way debating in her head whether or not she with abduction experiences, where she had an owl thing herself.
Yeah.
What's up?
I was gonna say you might want to slow down just a little bit. Yeah, you're kind of blipping out.
Okay. So she was headed back to her home in Arkansas, in the Ozark Mountains, And on her way there, she got stopped dead in the road by a owl that was so tall it could go over her hood of her vehicle. And it stopped right in the middle of the road, and she had to stop, and she actually crept up to it to see if she could get it to scare away, and it finally flew off, and it just flew further down the road and landed and turned back around to look at her again. And she rolled up to it really slow, and finally, right before she touched it, it flew off again, and it did this all the way to her house. And when she finally it finally flew off and away, and that was when she realized that owl was over the top of my hood in height. It would have been like 4 feet tall. And owls don't come that tall. In fact, I went and looked it up. The tallest owl on record, the tallest one that comes in any part of the world, is the great gray owl. And the largest one they've ever recorded was only 2 feet 9 inches in length. That's as tall as they can come.
So that's the largest owl ever anywhere.
That's the largest one they make.
Well, there's a Eurasian eagle owl that can be up to 28 inches tall, but it doesn't really look as it looks weird.
Yeah.
That's what? 2 foot 4 inches? 28 inches. Is that right?
Like that.
Did I do my math right?
No.
71 centimeters for our international fans.
73 centimeters.
Ian, we have that weird math over here.
The
weird math.
Tall
it's not
owl
math.
Prevalent in these. So many of these are humongous tall owls that are like of a human sometimes. So you're wondering, is the screen memory popping back in? Is it covering something else you're not supposed to be seeing?
I'm sure it is. Especially, when you hear the story of the one lady that was like looking at him and he was like, oh crap, she's looking at me. Owl, I'm an owl, And then she sees an owl. So they have more ability than we do,
it's like a two-pronged thing as far as you don't freak out if you see an owl, sitting in the front of the road. You don't want to hit it. It's a little thing. If it was a gray or something like that, you may just stomp on the gas and say, "No, I'm going to take my chances. Get out of here."
Blow him over the roof of your car.
Yeah. But or something like, if you see something unusual that you're not used to seeing, it's basically it's either they're making you perceive them as something that you're familiar with, so you can somehow acclimate yourself to whatever this encounter is, or it's just to make you blow it off as something normal and mundane, so you don't think about it.
Which you bring up a really good point, and that kind of leads us into symbolism. That's something that we need to consider too, because more of the natural world, things are conveyed through symbolism. That's kind of nature speak kind of thing. We speak in words and, not so much as symbols. And I like how, man, I just lost my train of thought completely there. But basically they're used as messengers. And so if you see the owl as a messenger, when you see that, it puts you in that mindset of, I need to be receiving, something. And I think that's something that we've gotten away from. The further that we get away from nature, we lose that ability to connect as easy. And so I think more modern day, it still happens, but we don't read it for what it truly is sometimes.
Well, and also think about this. The image of the grays resembles an owl. So if your brain is not prepared to process, oh, that's an alien. Oh, that's a really large owl.
Yeah.
Especially if you're driving down the road at night. I mean, you could perceive it as an owl if you just drove by it real quick. Oh my God, look at that owl.
Whitley Strieber, he wrote the book Communion. And Enzo, I don't know if you met him. I know you've seen him speak in person, though.
I have not personally met him or had a conversation or anything like that, but I've seen him a few times at Contact in the Desert and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Well, the book that he wrote, it was in 1987. Excellent book. I actually have a copy of it, but it's the one that has the famous picture of the gray on it that really creeps people out.
it really does.
It does, doesn't it?
I have not. I've only seen like a little piece of that movie. I was like, when I would deploy somewhere, they would always be like a movie tent where they would just play, discs over and over again. And someone had it on as I was walking through, and it was the part where the gray kind of peeks around the door.
Ooh.
And it really bothered me. I was like really, really bothered. Just this imagery of, I don't know why. I mean, I to my knowledge, I've never been abducted or had any kind
It's
of
so
close
creepy
contact like that.
though.
But I was like, I gotta get out of here. My first impression was like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out of this. I'm leaving. I'm walking out right now.
If you haven't seen that movie, it's a trip. It well worth a watch for sure. But Whitley did write about mythic symbolism in his book. And I thought it would be a good spot to put this in. So Athena, her symbol was the owl. And the Latin word for owl is strix, which also means witch. And it was thought in the earliest times to embody the wisdom of Ishtar, the ancient Mesopotamian eye goddess with the huge staring eyes, which, that's really reminiscent of the owl. But the owl is also the totem for the Celtic, and I'm going to try not to butcher this. It's Welsh, though, so I'm probably going to. Blodaweth. So if I did, sorry. I tried. It's Blodeuwedd, and I looked up the pronunciation, and it's Blodaweth. Blodaweth. But it's the triple goddess of the moon, and it's associated with the notion of the Trinity as the most common symbolic structure of the visitors that are mentioned by so many people who have been abducted or taken. And people nowadays, they don't have the idea of this ancient importance, but like kind of what we were talking about earlier, because we're more removed from nature now than we used to be. But I just thought that was a really interesting take. And I'm glad he put that in there because not so many people, they have this experience, but they don't put it together with these older ideas.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah. There's he has an entire, Mike Cleland has an entire section in his book just on the old archetypes through the ages and the old legends. And you really get to see how deep owl goes into our histories and our mythologies, and kind of makes the association that situation going on with these owls, maybe they represented something far scarier to us in way back when, and we've carried this fear with us this entire time.
Kind of like the fear of a predator.
It's really interesting. That's a whole other show.
Yeah. Something like, everybody's instinctually scared of spiders or snakes. Perhaps owls should be added to that because they are kind of freaky at night. I mean, you always read the stories about the owls, somebody's going to die or.
Yeah, if you hear an owl hoot after midnight kind of thing. That's actually, if I remember right, that's Kansas folklore. It's in my Kansas folklore book. If you hear an owl hoot after midnight, there's going to be a death.
It's so all over the place on them, though. That's what I don't get. Is it's not like they're all saying that they're all bad. It's some of them. It's a very good sign to have hear an owl hoot after midnight or whatever. Yeah. Where or it's just the extreme opposite, where there's certain Native American cultures where just seeing even just an image of an owl is like bad luck, and they'll shield their eyes, kind of a thing, to even look at it.
I was trying to think of the last time that I had seen an owl, and Jess, I actually think it might have been with you. We were out in the sandhills, and one flew in front of the car, and that's been a good 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. But I'm an inside cat. I'm not an outdoor cat.
Well, I'm kind of that way myself, but I know that there's some kind of a hoot owl of some type that's somewhere in my neighborhood that's here every fall and winter because it sits in the tree that's just outside of my place, and I'll hear it hooting, but it's so loud and there's so much bass to it. I can hear it through the walls of my place. Just, that's kind of what I hear.
It's
like,
saying, Enzo,
that's
cold,
the owl.
let me in.
Yes,
it's hooty.
I also live next to a couple of ponds during the summertime. I hear bullfrogs through the walls all night long. I don't sleep very much. That's
fair.
Funny.
That's fair.
Mike and Whitley, they both speculated that grays, they might be able to literally see through the eyes of the owls. And I thought that was an interesting concept, that maybe they were like a something that came before, like they came to scope out the area to make sure there weren't any Air Force or anything out there looking for him.
Well,
so birds aren't a real thing. Wait a minute.
Right.
A lot of the stories of the Greys, especially, talk about them speaking without moving their mouths, in your head. Mm-hmm. So if they've got some sort of telepathic ability, one, they could easily make you think you just saw an owl.
Yeah.
Or they could easily use a creature with extremely good eyesight that can see in the dark as
surveillance,
like the Beast Master, and they can just okay, I'm watching my prey through the eyes of my beast.
There you go.
Okay, you people at home are missing the fantastic look that Mark was.
Yeah, if you're listening on Spotify or something, you need to go to YouTube and rewatch. Because that was great.
That was the best, crazy-eyed Mark look I've ever seen.
Well, I've got the crazy eyes. I'm in the.
You got the crazy eyes. They aren't coming by that without reason, because in Norse mythology, that was hard. Words are hard. Odin, he had 2 ravens, and they would fly around the earth each day, and then they would return to him and transfer everything that they had seen through their eyes to him. So he was like their reconnaissance, kind of an avian surveillance camera that he would send out and bring back. So I mean, it makes sense, and this is something obviously if it's Norse mythology,
something like that. Wasn't that part of the Athena myth somewhat?
I don't know if it was Athena so much. It could have been.
I don't know.
Very well may have been.
I read.
But I know it was Norse for sure. I've tried to say that 4 times now, and I still can't say it. So
words are hard.
Words are hard, especially when you have a Kansas accent. Darn it.
Dang it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see my little tag under here, certified bird brain. I speak as well. Actually, some birds speak better than me. I'm not going to lie.
I'm trying to think of the song. What was the song? Give a hoot, don't pollute.
Woodsy Owl?
Yeah, Woodsy Owl. Give a hoot, don't pollute. Don't be a dirty bird or something.
Don't be a dirty bird?
Yeah, I can't remember the words now.
I've got a joke for that, but again, it's not fit for the internet.
Marcus.
Sorry. You're in trouble.
I work in a mechanic shop. I hear stuff that would just turn your
stuff.
I hear stuff that would turn your brain to jello. Mechanics are nasty.
Oh, I bet.
I can testify to that. That's true. Yeah.
So there's also Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and she was really talked a lot about the fact that owls would show up at paranormal hotspots, like places that have severe hauntings or ancient sacred sites. And she always felt as well that there was some kind of connection with these highly charged places, and the owls. So I thought that was interesting too, because, you know, there's more than one person that is pretty much an expert in these fields that are having the similar thought pattern. So that makes me think that there's probably something to it more than there's not.
What can owls see? Okay, so we've discussed in the past how animals can see things that we don't see. Like Enzo was talking about, look at the optical receptors that are built into an owl. What can they see that we cannot? Maybe they are attracted because they can see it. They're attracted to strange things.
Well, I should have them around me all the time then.
Well, you know, all of us really, because I'm about as strange as they get. I had somebody tell me today at work, I posted some weird stuff, but they couldn't remember what. And I said, well, that really does not narrow it down.
That's funny. So, okay. So then my question would go to, if you have an experience, like if you're touched in some way, basically, you know, by an experience, does that leave a mark on you? You know, do you shine brighter? You know, when you stare into the abyss, does the abyss stare back, kind of thing? Are you marked now? You know,
that may be the fact. I feel is because last year I went to Contact in the Desert and was hanging out there for 3 or 4 days. My favorite part about going to anything like Contact in the Desert, or even the Bordertown Paranormal Paracon, my favorite part is just talking to like regular people, not necessarily the people that are there that you're paying money to see, or free in our case, but it's you're talking to regular people that have had something weird happen to them, and you're sharing experiences.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about going to any kind of meetup or convention or anything like that. But anyway, last year, started a conversation with this young couple, like their mid-20s. They shared a story with me about this very strange orb experience that they had. They had rented a Airbnb at it was around it was their part of the Mojave Desert. It wasn't that far away from where Contact actually is, for like a week or so. And full disclosure, they were very clear about this when they started the story, that they're like, I'm going to be honest with you, right before this all happened, we did drop some acid. So, but their intention was, we're going to drop some acid and we're going to go sit in the lawn chairs in the backyard and just stare at the stars at night. Kind of
so it's basically to enhance an experience, kind of thing, as opposed to just
as they're just looking up at the sky, amazed at the stellar creativity going off over their head. They noticed like this very a solid color orb, basically going way overhead, and the way it was maneuvering around, they thought it was like some kind of fighter aircraft or something like that. How nimble it was, because it was just doing little loops and circles. And then after a period of time, a few more came in and joined it. And sometimes they chase each other. Sometimes they fly in circles, zigging and zagging. And they're assuming that all of this is like 20 to 30,000 feet or more over their heads. They originally were thinking, the further it went on, they're like, I don't know that we have fighter aircraft that can do this. Some of these maneuvers. And at one point, one of the orbs goes way off, like towards the horizon. And when they expected to see it like disappear behind some of the near hills and mountains that were around where they were at, it didn't. It was on their side of it. So that means they were much, much closer than what they originally thought. Now, the guy, there's a guy and a girl. The guy was like totally into everything. He thought this was like amazing and very spiritual and all that. Girlfriend, not into it. She's like, wait a minute, these things are that close. And because the one that they saw go down was like in a nearby hillside, and it appeared to be kind of coming closer to where they were. It was getting larger as it was approaching. So they're like, first they had this realization that these are not 30,000 feet away. These are like, under, several hundred yards and getting closer now. She had nothing. She was like, nope, that's it. I'm done. We're going inside. We're going to lock the doors. I don't like this. This is not cool. I didn't, it was all fun and games when it was, very far away. Now it's getting closer. So she drags the boyfriend inside. They lock up the doors and all that stuff. And they were seeing it, through the windows where it's actually like coming like into the backyard area of where they were staying and kind of like filtering around and kind of like doing little basic orby things, just kind of like drifting around and all that stuff. And we're getting like even closer. The girlfriend loses it. She's like, shut the shades, lock the doors. We're going to hide in the bathroom that's in the middle of the house and all that, which they did. And during this, the boyfriend is like, kind of like, she was like in the bathtub hiding. She was totally in a panic about it. The boyfriend was like kind of like peeking out the door, and he could see, because eventually they like they had like those Venetian blinds in the front room that they were seeing him through. He closed those because the girlfriend was panicking. You could see the glow around it where it was like they were looking around the windows and the doors like they were looking for a way in. Which he did say was a little creepy. He was then at that point. He was a little creeped out by it. And as we're having this conversation, I was like, just as out of being the nerd researcher kind of person, I was like, I don't suppose you got any pictures of this? He's like, oh, I made a YouTube video out of all the stuff that we got. I was like, what? He gives me the link to the thing. The guy was he still, I'm sure he probably still is a budding young musical artist and makes techno, electro, dance, house music kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And which he incorporated into his video, which does include some of the stuff. There's a couple of shots where I am very intrigued in the video itself, because you can see it's in front of like a nearby hill, and where it does appear to be moving down into like the left and getting a little closer. So it's not just a point in the sky. They do have those as well, but they finished their story. I look at their video and I was like, oh, that's actually not bad. And at that time I was kind of on a Skinwalker Ranch hitchhiker thing at that time. And I was like, oh, so this all happens, the sun comes up, everything's done. You didn't see anything else for the rest of the time you were there. Have you seen anything since then, since like when you've gone back home? Which I don't recall where they said they actually lived, but the girlfriend was like, no, everything was fine. And without any prompting, she's like, although I have noticed a lot more owls hanging out in our backyard now.
I mean,
excuse me.
She didn't make the connection, did she?
No, she had no idea.
Wow.
So these two people are hanging out outside at a heightened state of awareness due to a little bit of recreational pharmaceuticals.
Due to turning on points of their brain that normally aren't.
So their brain is probably glowing to anything with any kind of psychic ability. Of course.
Oh, that's a good point.
We hear all these psychic abilities of all these aliens. They would be attracted to that, and of course they would. Once you gain their attention, they would probably want to, what's these people up to? They're kind of entertaining.
Right.
Girl hid in the bathtub. That was great.
We scared the tar out of her. Let's try it again.
Oh, did you see that video that guy made of it?
See what she does next time.
For Pam or whoever has mastery of it, in the private chat, I've put the link to the YouTube channel. So if the people at home want to check it out themselves, admittedly, 95% of it is a little flowery alien imagery, but there is a section like right in the middle where they kind of break down exactly how the story went. He didn't include, when he was telling me the story verbally, there's a part of the video where he talks about how there's a bright flash of light and some of the local wildlife kind of went crazy and then go silent. But to press on with what we're talking about tonight, I started asking a few questions about the owls. Like, oh yeah, we see them all the time. Ever since after that trip, they're everywhere in our backyard all the time, almost every night. Hooting and making noise and just hanging out, looking at us and stuff. And it's like
psychic spies.
Yeah. So I did ask. I would certainly mute this. You don't have to say any of it you don't want, but
we'll play it a little bit while you talk.
There's certainly some creativity for some of the stuff going into this, but he does break down the whole story eventually in this. But yeah, that was the place. There's a little bit of the conversation that they were having that I guess they before it happened, before things started going a little crazy. But as basically, I asked him. The girl saw the look on my face when she said there were more owls. There's like, why? What does that mean? Are we in danger? Try to be concerned. She was still freaked out over the whole thing, which was when this occurred was like in 2023. So it had been almost a year when I talked to him last year. So it's a couple of years now. But as we were talking about it, she was like, I'm going to go get something to drink. And so the boyfriend was still there. After she walked away, because he was totally into everything. He wanted more. He wanted to know way more. I was like, yeah, just so you know, that there may be a connection between, possibly abductions and stuff like that with owl things. You may want to look into that yourself. I'll let you explore that one. But I didn't want to say it in front of the girlfriend because she was already on that line of total freak out while we were talking about, because she saw the look on my face when she said there's more owls.
Poor girl in a home.
Yeah. So I spared her because really actually what I said was like, if you haven't experienced anything anomalous other than seeing some birds in your backyard, there's probably nothing to it. Yeah. So it's not that big of a deal. Then she walked away and I pulled the boyfriend aside. Like, hey, just so you know. He was really super into it and wanted to know more about it. So he was happy to, or at least you're interested to hear that part of it. So yeah, just seeing something as anomalous as this and then followed up with a noticeable increase in owl activity without knowing that might be a thing in the backyards after they got home. Yeah, there is something to the owl thing.
Yeah.
And so many, a huge percentage of UFO experiencers have had owl issues. So it is a really
That's
weird
a good word
connection
for it.
Owl issues.
Well, I have issues. None of them are owls, but
and yeah, a lot of the owl phenomenon that we've been looking into, the stories, amounts of missing time, and then later on, they'll have a trigger moment and realize that missing time was when they were. So it goes from just I saw an owl and I had some missing time to, oh my god, then it turned into this, and it took me with them. I got
robed.
Yeah. In fact, I found a really interesting one. It was two boys. They were having a sleepover, and at about 9 p.m., they remembered that they'd left a toy that they wanted at the other one's house, which was literally like 2 houses away. And they told the one's mom, we're going to go off the trampoline, I believe it was, and be right back. And when they got there, they heard a weird sound coming out of the woods behind this kid's house, and they went to investigate. And when they got up to the tree line, a huge owl flew straight out at them with a big, bright flash of light behind it. And the one kid was trying to figure out what was going on and was in mid-turn when he heard his friend say, we've got to get out of here. And they both bolted for that kid's house, the house that was got in the back door. He was greeted by his parents at 3 a.m. when they got inside the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the police were out looking.
Holy cow.
Oh.
And they'd only been gone a few minutes.
At 9. Yeah. So left the house at 9. that went down, they said it would have all of 5 minutes to get there and back, and went straight into the from 9 until 3 a.m. So what happened to them in that
That's
time?
crazy.
Don't want to know.
That's classic. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
For this young couple that shot this video, this is actually like as close as I seem to recall them getting, and you can see the Venetian blinds are still open. It was at this point the girlfriend was like, "Shut the blinds! Come and hide in the bathroom with me." And the rest of the video, for the most part, is a lot of clips like this. So that's kind of the end of the.
So that was the end of it. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
But,
That's some really good stuff, though.
If you want to stick that link into the regular chat, if people want to check that on their own,
absolutely
great.
Yeah, it's an interesting video, especially where you actually see the orb.
Yeah, the one with the hill in the background where you can see it's clearly below the horizon, kind of a thing.
That is a really good way to film too, because they got a good point for perspective.
Exactly. And I was giving them accolades on that. Some of the earlier stuff, it's the blurry, out of focus dot in the sky kind of stuff that we've seen a million times, which is fine, but it doesn't tell you a whole lot. You don't have that perspective. But he described them as being like only like a few inches big, moving around, at least, as when they got closer to, the building they're in. So, but yeah, the girlfriend, not cool with it. Did not like anything.
Not cool at all.
Huh? No.
You were talking, Jess, about missing time like that. There was a couple of stories. One that sticks out in my mind is the guy that left his house, headed to his buddies. They were going to have a movie night or something. I don't remember the specifics, but he comes around the corner and there's a giant white owl in the middle of the road. So he stops and looks at it for a minute and creeps around it. And when he goes forward, he sees it again. It's in front of him again. So he goes around it again, and then he ends up at his friend's house, and his friend is pissed. He's like, "Where have you been? You said you were leaving. You were on your way." And he's like, "Yeah, man, I just headed. I saw this big white owl in the middle of the road." And, he's kind of realizing how stupid that sounds. So he kind of quits talking about that. And his friend's like, "It's after 10 o'clock. Where have you been? You left your house at I don't remember what time it was. I want to say 7. But yeah, I mean, he just between his friend's house and there, just a couple of miles, he lost a couple hours. Seeing a big white owl.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. The missing time. That's the scariest part.
It
is the scariest
what
part.
Happened?
What happened to me while I don't remember.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know Woodsy Owl, this is Woodsy Owl.
There he is.
He's cute. I can hear his little song in my head.
Ooh. I will abduct you from your bedroom.
Okay, trivia here.
Oh, Lord.
I think the guy that played Radar on MASH, I think he played Woodsy Owl. No,
really?
Yeah, that was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he played Woodsy Owl because the guy wore the big costume and danced around in it. I'm pretty sure that was him. I'll have to double check that. I could be lying through my teeth, but I'm pretty sure. One of those fun facts that rattle around in my brain.
I mean, we can find out real quick. We have the internet and ADD.
That's true.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, as long as he was hiding that hand, he was okay with it.
Angelo Rosito. I was wrong. I thought it was Gary Burke.
Oh, man.
Why did I think that? Hang on.
I don't know. Maybe the aliens implanted
Several
it in your
actors, Sterling Holloway, Barry Gordon, Dave Kimber, and Frank Welker.
Where did I get that?
I don't know.
Oh, IMDb, Gary Burgoff. See
ever Woodsy Owl?
Oh, Lord.
Right?
Well, maybe it was. And Pam has flipped
reel us back in, Jess, while I'm down this rabbit hole over here.
I have a really interesting. It's owl.
Dude, you're cutting out really bad. You might have to slow down again a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Just go slow.
So, okay. I found this story that has, oh my gosh, it's got a little girl in it. It was Halloween time, and they were pulling out decorations. Decoration, and the little girl looked at it and went, "Oh, Mama, I've seen this year." And she goes, "No, I remember it from when I was a baby." And she was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Mama, when I was a baby, every night 2 owls would come to my window, and they would pick me up, and they would take me out every night."
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. And her mom was like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "No, really." And she like explained what her room looked like when she was an infant, like her crib and everything. And that every night these 2 owls would come and she would fly with them.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yes. Uh-huh. And another story I found that was just super strange, didn't even involve an alien. It involved something mechanical. This girl was laying in bed awake, and she saw something come down out of the sky in front of her bedroom window. And it was mechanical. It had a lens, and it had like a long metal arm, and it attached itself to the window. And when it did it, she went to go scream. But in her mind, she heard it say, "Don't worry, I'm just a friendly owl." But she didn't see an owl. She saw this metal thing, and she watched.
She had Boobo out there?
That told her, "Don't worry, I'm just a friendly owl."
Yeah. She said it had like 3 lenses that would come in and close and open like it was blinking. And she got really interested in it. Like she wasn't scared anymore. And she got out of bed and started walking towards it. It detached itself back up.
What movie was? Okay, there was a movie that had a clockwork owl on it.
Yeah,
Flash of the
Titans.
Flash of the Titans. Yes.
Boobo. That's why I made the Boobo.
Okay.
That was the name of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But it wasn't an owl. It was
an weird
little arm. That's all it was.
It was what?
It was just a lens with a little leg off of it. Like,
oh, how strange.
I've got
It's like a deep sea submersible with an arm.
Huh, that is wild.
It's like a camera lens with a leg. Yeah.
It looked like this.
How strange.
She was attacked by a ring light.
Right?
My God, I've got that.
Watch out, Mark. You're going to go flying tonight.
No.
I mean, at this point, an alien abduction would be more of a rescue mission.
No kidding.
They don't even have to trick me into the ship. I'll go.
Yes.
But hey, you
finally.
Want to ride that boy? I said, well, hell, let's go.
Fun part, we still have folklore about owls even now. If you think about it, because especially around Halloween, we have the spooky owl that goes along with like the haunted house, and they're always in with the ghosts and stuff. So I couldn't tell you. I'm sure I have some around here. Some Halloween owls.
All these legends, they're stuck in everybody's minds. The media uses them when they're telling stories. I've read owl stuff in books. It's an omen. The owls are coming. You're gonna die, or almost something good's gonna happen to you. Or
my great grandma, she collected owls. I can't tell you how many. She probably had 50 of them. And I'll have to ask Mom if she has any. I don't know if I have. If I do, they're packed away. But yeah, she had tons of little ceramic ones everywhere. So every time I see an owl, I think of my grandma.
Yep, I think my aunt used to have some owl salt and pepper shakers.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
how fun.
Yeah, they are fascinating creatures. No matter who you are, there's something interesting about it. I feel for everybody, just because they're just so different from what you're used to seeing. You know, it's not just a bird. It's
Right.
Got some pretty unique things about it, and
they are not your normal critter. I mean,
yeah, they really aren't.
Something else that Mike brought up a lot, was the fact that owls kind of play into something that a lot of abductees go through, and that's like an initiatory process. And he went through it himself. And so a lot of times when someone has an experience, they're forever changed. Almost everybody is that has had an experience. It completely shifts their reality, their outlook on life and everything. And maybe what was important the day before is not what's important now, And so a lot of them that he said, and he even posited at one point that I saw that maybe 50% of the abductees that seemed to have gone through this initiatory process come out on the other end and move into positions where they help people in their jobs and things. And a lot of them ended up being like Reiki masters and things like that,
And he call it shamanic.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yes, shamanic initiatory
initiation.
process. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he sure did.
See, I did. Ian's right. I did do my homework this time.
You did. Oh, Brianna's. Bree said that her daughter Cassie, she has owls everywhere. She's obsessed with them almost as much as Bree is obsessed with. Bree has the cutest little hedgehog, like a real hedgehog.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Super duper cute.
They really are. Yeah. And very tasty to owls.
Oh, I'm glad you added that in. I was like, oh no.
Oh no. Did you all want to talk about the reverse recordings that they did of the abductees? Did you read
I didn't run across that. No, I didn't.
I'm not familiar with this.
Didn't it? Oh, like the whole last half of McClellan's book is the reverse recordings. It's so flippin' interesting. I'd never actually heard of this. So, well, you know how like Beatles fans would play the records backwards and try to find the hidden messages and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there are these two researchers, Eve Lorgan and who got the idea to take these and their experiences and to play them backwards just to see if there was anything there. Mm-hmm. And they were shocked to find that there actually was. And there is so much on owls in the stuff. Weird as that sounds, it's actually there. So
I can't believe I didn't know that. Yeah, you're cutting out really bad.
Book.
Yeah, I was not aware of that.
I'll just do a couple and then yeah. So in this one that they did, just recording about her abduction experience. And in it, she says, because she remembers an orange light, right? And when you play that segment back, it says, care, the owl knew it was their memory ship. Another one, playing it forward, this gentleman under the black light. And when you rewind it or play it in reverse, it says, the owl called within. And it's just line after line after line after line of owl stuff. One was,
that is weird.
One said, he said the pretty lights, and first it said the owl led her, and it just keeps going. And in fact, McClelland himself later on had done some sessions where he talked about his experiences, not his abduction experiences, but where owls. And when they played it back, it also mentioned owls. And I think at one time it mentioned Whitley Strieber in it, replying back to what he was talking about. But it was him being played. Very strange stuff. You'll have to check it out. It's
weird.
the back.
That is strange.
It's at the back of the messengers. Yeah.
It's in the first book. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't read the first book. I didn't have a copy of it. I read the stories from the messengers.
So for anybody that's interested, it starts 2 in The Messengers by Mike Cleland. And there's so much more than that.
Page what?
303.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yes,
interesting.
I agree, Ian. He said back asking deserves an entire episode. It does.
Backward masking, yeah. There's a whole lot of weird. I originally I was like, nah, it's just coincidence that it happens to sound sort of like that. However, the more you listen to it and the more you look into it, it's like, might be something to this.
I read it exactly as you wrote it, Ian.
I know.
Yes, it was backmasking.
Oops.
I hear you, Ian. I heard what you said.
Yeah. Enzo had you.
Enzo is psychic.
Right?
The owls told me.
The owl told you.
I like, they pulled up 4 ideas of, or Mike Cleland did 4 ideas of what owls might actually mean. And one of them was that owls are alarm clocks. And basically, they're here to wake us up. They're here to, set the alarm, truly, to, hey, you need to catch this experience. This is getting ready to happen. But, I mean, is that the case? I don't know that for sure. And then another idea is that, like we've talked about a lot tonight, owls are an archetype. They're a symbol, and it's like an image that's stored deep within, our genetic memory bank, basically. So there might be hidden meanings that are locked away in our general consciousness. And if so, maybe that's a way to get to it. The owl is the key to get us there. Because we think in symbols. And, I never saw this mentioned anywhere, but I did a lot of research and experimentation into remote viewing a couple of years ago. And one of the things that we were taught was that basically to get to that other part of your brain to where you can actually remote view, you have to talk in symbols. You have to learn to interpret its symbols. It has to learn to interpret yours. And that's how you tap into that. And I thought that was interesting because this kind of plays into that as well. So there is something to that, because when I learned to do that, I was able to, in some of the exercises that I did, I think I did 5 exercises, and 4 of them I got right. So it was pretty cool. I really need to pick it back up. I just kind of hit and miss. I interested for a while, and then my ADHD brain heads the other way.
That sounds like
really
my
bad about that.
day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start 14 different projects and
be then
totally different the next minute.
That's my constant. And then third, owls are here to announce initiation. We kind of talked about that too, that, and when we talk about initiation, what we're talking about is like a ritual, like, a young person that is Catholic going to their first Holy Communion, or, owls, they kind of show up. When they do show up, it's normally right before a UFO arrives, or some kind of ship shows up or whatever, paranormal event. Yeah, thank you. So it's kind of like the owl's like, hey, heads up, here's the alarm clock, pay attention, something's getting ready to happen. And I think that's cool too, because that makes sense when you think about it in those terms. And then the fourth one is that owls are a totem of like a transformational experience, which again, we've talked about that, you know, where once you see a UFO, it turns your world, you know, it tilts your whole world. Everything's different. The entire paradigm of your life is altered. You know, things that you didn't think could be true, now you're realizing they're really there. I think, especially as interested as we all are in the paranormal, we've all had that experience. We've all had a situation that has, you know, tipped the scales for us, where we may have been on the fence, but, you know, something happens and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this stuff's real. So I always thought that was a interesting when I read that it would be good to add in here. So yeah,
Ian brings up a good point that I'd totally forgotten about. You just remembered the Bohemian Grove statue is a massive owl.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like,
That's
and there's Karen. Yay!
It is a very large statue.
It is. It's big.
Yes.
But there's all kinds of interesting things when it comes to owls.
I mean, they're been a part of human culture for as long as we've recorded human culture. They've been feared. They've been vilified. They've been worshipped. If you name it, we've thought about it. Fear being one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, it evokes a feeling for sure anytime you see one. And if you see, you know, if you see one like it's carved into stone in an ancient thing, you're immediately going to be like, messenger. There's, you know, there's something with this here. So it's like a, you know, a worldwide known symbol for
right. You start getting into that, like that brain twisty part of like, God, have they been influencing our culture for, you know, our entire existence as humanity? You know,
it's a good point.
Or you know, have they been around this entire time and they've been using the same tactics the whole time? Oh, you're just seeing a giant owl. You're going to remember the giant owl. The giant owl is your friend.
So, yeah, and I'm kind of sad because some of the podcasts I listened to that Mike Clellan did, he's like, yeah, I'm not going to write any more books about this. I've said everything I have to say about it, and that's it. And I get it. You know, there's only so much you can say about him until maybe something new happens.
That's a lot.
He's done quite a few podcasts and stuff.
Yes.
So there's a lot of interviews out there. So you can go out there on YouTube and hear it right from his mouth about some of this stuff.
That's it. Karen said owls are super cute. I used to have a family of them come visit me at night to get bugs from lights near my porch. Or were they owls? Dun, dun, dun.
They're keeping an eye on you, Karen.
All the wildlife keeps an eye on Karen. She has every animal you can think of show up nearby. She's like the original Snow White. She's like the original Disney princess. The birds land on her fingers and the whole spiel.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. They run in fear from me, but that's because they're probably afraid I'm going to eat them.
You're going to eat them, yeah. That's
and it's fair.
Too funny. Well, we're getting down to it's 8:40. Do we want to try to do the notebook game? And I have backups just in case. So
okay, we can try. If I'm
just go slow.
Out too much,
go slow.
Just let me know.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if I do start cutting out too much, let's just stop my end of it because.
Okay, if you do, just watch. We'll stick a hand up.
Who can do it?
Okay, I can do
it. When you go slow, it doesn't do it quite as bad, but we'll see. We'll do what we can.
Okay.
So if you're in the chat, Jess has 5 notebooks. So if you choose a number 1 through 5, and then anything 75 and lower for the page number. All righty, we've got one already. Notebook 4, page 11.
That's Mark.
Yep.
He's cheating
I
again.
want the 411. That's what I want.
Nice.
4. Okay. This is on McDowell Hole in Texas. Have you guys heard of the McDowell Hole?
The
No.
McDowell Hole in
The
Texas.
McDowell Hole.
I have not.
I have not heard of that.
It has owl in the middle
right.
of it, so I feel
It
that's
does. Ooh.
It's actually Dow. McDow.
Darn.
Sorry.
It sounded good though.
all right. Go ahead with your crappy thing, whatever it is.
Oh, wow. Okay. My correct thing. In the 1860s, a couple, Charlie and Jenny Papworth, moved into a cabin near the McDowell Hole on the creek. The hole was named after his uncle, Jim. He left on a trip to complete family business. Jenny and the 2 children stayed behind. During the day, she busied herself with her children and her chores. In the evening, she would take the children and stay at the McDowells. One night, Jenny and the kids didn't show up. The McDowells became frantic the next day. When they arrived at the cabin, they found the place in disarray and a trail of blood. Their son was found under the bed, but Jenny and the baby were never found. Initially, the main suspect was W. around town. He immediately blamed the notorious townspeople, and they began to question Brownlow's part in the incident. No proof was ever found. Charlie and the little boy moved away. This is when the hauntings started. And thereafter, have witnessed Jenny and her daughter over the years. She has often seen standing, holding her baby girl, even scaring one man to death. Later, a couple of drunks heard about the ghost in the cabin. They bet a bartender in town they could stay 3 days without a problem. When the townsfolk went in to check on them, they were nowhere to be found, though they found the cabin riddled with bullet holes. Years passed, and many folks made claims of seeing Jenny and the baby from a fishing to most famous appearances was at W.P. Brownlow's bed as he was dying. Brownlow did finally admit to murders. The murder was fueled by fear that Jenny might repeat a conversation she overheard Brownlow regarding cattle rustling, which at that time was punishable by hanging. Jenny's ghost and that of her little girl still haunt the area. If you're up for a little scary business, you can find McDowell Hole located off of Highway 6. So, just a little long story that I found.
That's an interesting story.
Wow.
You did cut out a little bit. Where is it located?
Yeah,
again?
it's in between Dublin and Alexander, Texas. It's on Highway 6.
Nice.
If you want to go visit it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
The next one is
What do we got?
Ginger. Notebook 5, page 23.
Okay.
And then I'll pull one up so we can switch back and forth. I'm going to turn my mic off so I'm not rattling papers.
Okay, this is a case file I have on a wolfman with wings sighting in western Oklahoma from 2023. And it's a case file, so it's going to read just like this gentleman reported it. My brother-in-law had a bad head injury and was in a coma for several months. He had to relearn how to walk, talk, and everything. While he was beginning his long recovery, one of his cousins told me that they had seen something strange on a country road. They had stopped on a back road to relieve themselves and left their truck running. While they were outside, they saw a pack of white dogs running towards them. They jumped into the truck and the dogs ran past them. So they turned towards the front of the road, and in their headlights, a wolf man looking creature with wings sitting up on its back legs. The dogs were headed towards it when it jumped about 15 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cut out a lot.
That was a bad one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a bad one. Let's give yours a rest for a second, and I'll hit one. I'll hit one. Well, I'll hit one, and then we'll have you try again here in a minute. Okay, so Brianne, or I don't know why I keep calling you Brianne because your name's spelled out like that. Bree. So for yours, I pulled up one out of mine, and this is out of my UFO UAP folder. And what this is, I don't know if I can go back to the first page of it. Anyway, it ends up being an executive summary on some of the declassified documents that came out a few years ago. And this one's talking about the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group. So it says, during the period of approximately 10 through 16 November 2004, the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, the CSG, was operating off the western coast of the United States in preparation for the deployment to the Arabian Sea. The USS Princeton on several occasions detected multiple anomalous aerial vehicles, or AAVs, operating in and around the vicinity of the CSG. The AAVs would descend very rapidly, and it's in quotes, very rapidly, from approximately 60,000 feet down to approximately 50 feet in a matter of seconds. They would then hover or stay stationary on the radar for a short time and then depart at high velocities and turn rates. On the 14th of November, after again detecting the AAV, the USS Princeton took the opportunity of having a flight of two FA-18Fs return from a training mission to further investigate the AAV. The USS Princeton took over control of the FA-18s from the E-2C airborne early warning aircraft and vectored in the FA-18s for intercept, leading to visual contact approximately 1 mile away from the AAV, which was reported to have been an elongated egg or a tic-tac. So these are into the tic-tacs, right?
Yeah.
With discernible midline horizontal axis. It was solid white, smooth, with no edges. It was uniformly colored with no, what is that? N-A-C-E-L-L-E-S?
Nacelles.
Nacelles, pylons or wings. It was approximately 46 feet in length. They were close enough to get that degree of a size on it. Wow. The FA-18F's radar could not obtain a lock on the AAV. However, it could be tracked while stationary and at slower speeds with the forward-looking infrared or the flare. The AAV did take evasive actions upon intercept by the FA-18, demonstrating an advanced acceleration, aerodynamic, and propulsion capability. The AAV did not take any offensive action towards the CSG. However, given its ability to operate unchallenged in close vicinity to the CSG, it demonstrated the potential to conduct undetected reconnaissance, leaving the CSG with a limited ability to detect, track, and/or engage the AAV. Interesting.
That was interesting.
Yeah. We personally know someone that was on the Princeton at that time. Gary Voorhees. Yeah.
That's right. He was.
And check out his podcast. Mm-hmm. Gary Voorhees has his own podcast now. And words are hard, and the name of it just escaped me. I was checking it out just the other day.
Space Oddities?
Space Oddities, yes, that's it.
Yay.
He's great. I love Gary. He is just awesome.
He is fun. Okay, I'll do Cord says notebook 3, page 3. We're going with folder 3, page 3. Ooh. Okay, this one's on curses. This is King Tut's curse and other mummy curses.
Ooh.
In February 1923, a British archaeological team opened the tomb of I can't say it. King Tut. Thank you. Or King Tut. I should have just said that. An Egyptian pharaoh during the 14th century BC. 2 months later, when the team's sponsor died from a bacterial infection, British newspapers claimed without evidence that he died because of King Tut's curse. Whenever subsequent members of the team died, the media dredged up the alleged curse again. King Tut's curse and other famous mummy curses were invented by Europeans and Americans while their countries removed priceless artifacts from Egypt. After the Titanic sank in 1912, some newspapers even promoted a conspiracy theory that the ship had sunk because of a mummy's curse. Although it's not clear how many people actually took these curses seriously, these stories became extremely popular subjects for horror movies like The Mummy in 1932 and its many iterations, as well as comedies like Mummy's Boys, 1936, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy in 1955.
What a reference to put into your
right?
Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, why not?
Hey, why not? They're funny. Awesome.
They are. Do you want to try one, Jess?
Jess is done with it. She's like, no.
You're over it. Okay, let's see.
I'm not going to sit here and break up through the whole thing. It's just annoying. So I'll let you have it.
Okay. I'm so sorry, Jess.
Let's see who we have next. Ian.
5:14.
Somebody sing while I.
Yeah.
Jess, you could do the Jeopardy hoot owl.
Girl from Empanina.
I recognize that. I was actually singing it in my head. You don't want to hear me sing out loud. Nobody wants
to. We'll save everybody. There you go. I may have to.
It's not that I can't sing. It's that I just really, really, really shouldn't.
The owls say no. Yes.
I'll have an owl outside my window coming to take my soul. Stop that horrible noise.
Okay, so this is an unidentified flying object. So I'm going to flip from the first page to the second, so it'll make sense. And it is dated the 12th of March, 1958. And it says, attached is a copy of a memo from Department of Territories on the reported sighting of a falling object in the territory of Papua in New Guinea. Did I say that right? It is requested, something close. It is requested that a copy be passed to CIA for information. And second part of this, the Department of Territories has been informed that from the defense point of view, further investigation would not be justified. Okay, so that's kind of leading into what this is. It's a report on observation of phenomenon, and it gives the observers. There's B. Noble, second officer, K.O. O'Connell, chief engineer, and then I. McRae, fifth engineer. Talks about the weather, and that there was visibility was plus 30 miles, so it was decent visibility, right? I'm assuming that's decent visibility.
That's pretty good visibility.
At 1400 hours EST 8th February 1958, whilst in the above position, a contrail was observed in the form at about 50 degrees altitude and bearing 290 degrees from the ship. The contrail developed rapidly, passed over the vessel's zenith and faded out at about 40 degrees altitude and bearing 110 degrees, again reformed at about 30 degrees, and finally disappeared at an altitude of about 15 degrees on the same bearing, and in a direction over the township of Kingston. The contrail appeared to originate from some fast-moving body, and the height was estimated at plus 50,000 feet. The contrail remained visible for some 30 minutes, gradually dispersing with the effluxion of time. It was white in color. The second officer likened the contrail to the trails left by the V-2 rockets when launched, having observed such launchings from the North Sea during 1944. Abnormal refraction was noted at the time of observation. The SS Lake Erie, bound on an opposite course, was first observed well below the horizon, and the image of this vessel was seen to be inverted. Later, as two images gradually fading as the vessel came pull up on the horizon. And they have a little picture for reference down there.
Huh.
Yeah, that's interesting. 50,000 feet is pushing the ceiling for a lot of aircraft.
Most aircraft, yeah.
I mean, most of them, 20,000 is, considered quite good. Single engine Cessna, that's about the ceiling for one of those. Most business jets can get about 30, 40,000 feet. I'm not sure about how high commercial jets fly, but I don't think they go much over 40.
Oh no, 40 is usually the ceiling. I feel I've been to 39 myself, and it's very cold. 39,000.
It sounds uncomfortable. Yes.
Yeah. They're the ACM is pushing the limits on what it can do at that level, at least on a KC-135. So
I think the Blackbird could go to 85,000, something like that.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It would go way up there.
So not many planes could go 50,000 feet. I mean, so it makes you wonder exactly what it was. Could have been a spy plane.
U-2, SR-71.
Yeah. I mean.
Okay, so the next one's Sylvains. And this is on crop circles and circle dancing. Hang on just a second.
Circle dancing.
Well, hell, I'll dance.
You can dance if you want. You can leave your friends behind.
Because if your friends don't dance.
Yeah.
No.
I will not have any friends if I sing that song.
Too funny. Okay, so this is out of my crop circles actually, but it's on the face, so that's interesting. Many people nowadays consider that all the corn circles are made by human artists, and they certainly are very beautiful artwork. There are some who still feel they have otherworldly origins. I'm not here concerned with this debate about by whom and how they are made. I'm concerned only about the effect they have on us and our mythological import. As a typical example of the poltergeistery, mischievous type of phenomenon associated with the fair folk. Corn circles can be seen to be a form of this new/old phenomenon that was previously attributed to the fair folk, as witnessed in a poem that Jeffrey Ashe mentioned in his section on the fair folk in his book, Mythology of the British Isles. Okay, should I? Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Okay.
She says that because I used to do that in the living room after the kids had gone to bed. And so
that might be TMI. That might be TMI.
Even the owls would fly away from that.
Oh my goodness.
I still think they just bury me someplace. I'm not sure.
And this is kind of fun.
Really large white lump.
Because it talks, I'm not going to read the whole poem because it's like in Old English. But underneath it, it says, when I was a child, fairy rings were linked with mushroom circles, which is interesting because of the link between fairies and hallucinogenic mushrooms. So, and there's a similar link as that mentioned with the shamanic use of ayahuasca. I think that's right.
Ayahuasca. Yeah, you got it.
Close. Psychotropic plants that take us into another reality, but it does not explain the poem's lament about the fairies no longer dancing their rings and roundelays, where the mushroom rings do not cease at the time of Elizabeth and James. And it shows, it goes on to talk about the mowing devil of Hertfordshire.
Yep, I remember talking
There
about
he
that.
is. Yeah, you remember when we discussed that one?
Yep,
There he is.
Interesting.
Yep. All right, I think that's all
That
the
was
requests. wasn't it?
Sylvain's. Yeah, that was Sylvain's. So I think. Does anybody else want to do one?
Got time for one more?
Yeah, we're right at 9. So
I'd like Jess to try one more for me.
I would too. She's always got good ones.
Jess, personal request, notebook 1, page 18, please.
You can do it.
Yay!
We can do
Let's all
use
focus
my
on her internet.
My psychic power on her internet.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna try.
Ow.
We're sending
ow,
you good internet
ow,
vibes.
Ow. Ow. Ow.
All right. This one is a traveling ghost. That's how I have it marked. I don't know. I'm reading it.
Okay.
My neighbor Diane and I had a playful poltergeist for years. We called it Billy. I'd come home and find something put in a weird place. Milk in a cupboard, toilet paper in the fridge, laundry detergent in the bathtub. Diane once called to ask Billy if Billy had been around. She couldn't find a gallon of milk. We finally found it outside on her back. Every morning, my sugar bowl was empty.
Well, Billy
When
was
I'd
kind
had
of a
enough.
jerk.
Yeah. When I'd had enough, I would go to Diane's home and yell, "Go see Diane." Within 5 minutes, I'd get a call from her. "Thanks a lot," she'd say. He'd gone in place. This occurred for the entire 2 years that we lived there. No one believed us, not even our husbands. My mother thought someone was stealing from us when we were sleeping or out of the house. My sister believed something was going on, but didn't know what. I still can't explain any of it.
That's wild.
It's the little people.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
It's the little
love
people.
that.
And they love pranks. So yeah, go mess with your sister or whatever. Yeah, they love that. Okay.
And they do it.
We're on it.
And
Where did
again,
you
if
say
you're
you wanted me to
listening,
hide her keys at?
if you're listening as opposed to watching, you really need to go watch this on YouTube and see the facial expressions of Mark.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And Enzo, for that matter.
It's just funnier with my facial hair. It is. And it's not a crazy eye. I've got allergies real bad. So it's like,
oh, yeah. It's just crazy eyes. Good try.
It's
we know
crazy
better.
eyes. Yeah.
It
You're
is.
probably right. I mean, I'm crazy. I thought about getting papers to prove it, but I mean,
Did your mom have you tested?
No proof required. Just a simple conversation. I
think we have all the proof we need.
The internet's full of it now. Go check out my YouTube channels.
Right. We are down to the end. It is 9:04.
Yep.
So
are we ready to call it?
I think we are ready to call it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll see if I can
updates for what could be for next time.
Yeah. So our next show will be February 12th, I believe. Isn't that correct?
Sounds right.
I have to find a calendar.
Yep. Catch us later Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central. Out our Facebook page for updates on our topics. We don't have a topic quite for the next show, but we will let you know as soon as we do. Make sure to check out What If Tomorrow on the Fringe next Monday. What are we going to be covering, Mark?
We're going to be talking about Majestic 12. Enzo, you want in on that?
Ooh.
I could say a few things about it.
I'll send you a link.
Nice.
It's going to be a fun one. Majestic 12 it's really interesting.
It is.
So.
Yeah. Head over to the What If Tomorrow Media page on Facebook or over to the YouTube channel, and it's down underneath there. And you can also check out What If Tomorrow every other Monday off of that, and check out Phil and Mark as they talk about all sorts of
preparedness and news. And
I think they talk about a little bit of everything.
We do talk about a little bit of everything.
And news and what's going on.
Politics.
They do.
Yeah, we no holds barred. We try to keep the fringy stuff on the fringe.
Every Friday night,
except for my face.
Yeah, every Friday night, check out Enzo and Karen over at the Karen Show. I get to pop in occasionally once in a while.
That's right. The Karen Show is a lot of fun. Friday night hangout, not necessarily about anything. We will discuss topics that have come up during the week and maybe a few specialized kind of things if people want to talk about it. So just Friday night hang. Swing on by.
All right.
Cool. And I'm every Tuesday night on a month. So we got all kinds of fun stuff going on.
Yeah.
Too many podcasts.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of fun last night. It was fun.
I'm going to throw this out.
It was a good one, wasn't it?
We've got enough people with enough podcasts. We could start a Roku channel. It's not that expensive if everybody pitches in.
It would be cool. That would be fun. Because I've also got, in other words, podcasts too. It's opposite Wednesday nights of Bordertown Strange.
So what was that? 6, 7 podcasts now we got going on here?
I have 4.
Yeah. I have 2.
5, 6, and then Enzo's is 7. Jess is on with me, so yeah, there's 7.
7.
Good grief.
7. Yeah, we can start a channel, guys.
We could drag Shaw in. She's got one. There's 8.
I'll tell you what. We take donations to get the channel started. If people want a channel, we will do it.
All Mark all the time.
All Mark. Oh my gosh! The world will collapse into.
Not sure that's a starting point. You think it is?
Oh, Bree's wanting to start one. There we go. We might be up to 8 or 9.
If enough people get together, we could do it.
Be cool.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay. So, really
and
quick.
Thus begins the apocalypse.
If you haven't liked and shared, thumbs up that bell yet, go ahead and do that for us really quick. Make sure to check out our Facebook page. We'll be all of the books that we used for research for this particular show, and anything else that pops up, we'll try to throw it up there too, so you have access to all of our research. And I think that's it, right?
I think we're
good.
Send us in your stories and your ideas for shows.
If you've seen owls, tell us.
Oh,
yeah, we might do another owl show.
I want to hear your owl stories. I really do.
There's so much more we could talk about on owls. We could do another show on them.
I'm hopefully not getting
especially when Jess's internet's back up to speed. We need to do another one.
God.
Yeah, we need to fix Jess's thing. Yeah, it's
yeah.
For sure.
We'll get it. All right, let's get out of here. Remember, keep it weird, keep it strange, and remember, it's all connected. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.